So, Pat, this next guy we have on, absolute stud. Been doing it for a long, long time in the NFL, dominator in college, NFL, Browns, now Steelers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Haden.
Yeah!
Joe! Joe, what's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm good. How you doing, fellas?
We're doing great. We're doing great. So, I know people ask you, obviously, what you're doing with the Steelers and how is Mike Tomlin, what's it like compared to Cleveland, but I want to know, what do you think of your old coach, Urban Meyer? What do you think it's going to be like in Jacksonville, and do you think that he's going to be able to win games down there?
I hope he does. I think the main thing is if he's going to be able to transfer that coaching mentality of, he's the boss and be able to adjust to adults making more than he is as the players, just being that good coach in the locker room, being able to relate to the players that have families, have kids, have things like that. So I think he's going to be successful with it because I think that's going to be the main adjustment for coach.
Joe, I remember when you went from Cleveland to Pittsburgh, it was a big deal. It feels like you fit in perfectly over there in Pittsburgh. What has it been like to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? What's Tomlin like on the day-to-day? And you guys obviously have been a massive part of all the success. That defensive side of the ball has always been dogs in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, man, it's been amazing, because being in Cleveland, the time that I was there, it was just a big whirlwind of just coaching change and everybody just trying to say no. Then when the new coach comes in, it was the old atmosphere, you know what I'm saying, and wanting to switch everything up. But just being in Pittsburgh, having that consistency, having that coach that that word, him having those phrases that he doesn't move by. And, it's just really, really good having a coach like Coach T. He's very relatable. He keeps it very, very black and white. The tape doesn't lie, and he's able to just judge you on that. And I appreciate him because, just having that and having a man, a leader of men. I think he's just a leader of men, and it's great to have him.
Hey, Joe, let's say you're playing against one of these young stud receivers that get drafted high, and I'm sure you've played against, obviously, a ton of them over your time. Do you go back and watch a lot of their college tape when you don't have any NFL tape or you have very little NFL film on them?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, I watched them back in the day when they were playing in college football, like, the young receivers that are good. I think once they're out there, the slants are slants. Like, how many times you give me a different type of slant, a different post, the releases or whatever. But, I really just – I watch the tape and I watch the schemes mostly.
Do you – yeah, I mean, hey, that's smart. It seems to have worked so far, Joe, so just continue the good work on your side. Have you noticed, though, from when you got in the league until now, are guys like more – I guess are they more prepared when they show up now compared to maybe 10, 11 years ago? It seems like these guys are making an impact day one.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think when I came out, it was we had Julio, AJ. Jeez. Those dudes were really, really league ready instantly as soon as they came out. So I think it's a lot more of these dudes now you can find in later rounds that are instantly ready to play. So I think and then obviously when I first got in the league, the biggest change is you can't touch anybody. You can't touch these receivers anywhere after. You can't press them on the line, grabbing the jerseys. It's going to be an offensive pass. Defensive pass interference. So now it's more of a scheme reading, more of a route concept reading game. So you got to just be more. It's more above the neck.
Joe, obviously vet now. How do these joint practices not end in a brawl every time? Honestly, I have no idea how they – yesterday, there was 5 with the Tampa Bay and Tennessee thing. Rams, Raiders got shut down because there was too many fights. There is jobs on the table. There are lives being different. I don't know how that isn't a fight every single time. Are you more mature than we are? Because we've been asking that question every single time, basically.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, honestly, because it gets intense on your own training camps when Coach T says, "I want tough guys, but we're not trying to make a UFC team here, so I want no fights." I completely get what he's coming from. So when you're doing it against your team, there's still little scuffles that we have on our team. You know what I'm saying? But when I was with Cleveland, I did one joint practice. We were against Tampa Bay, and one-on-ones, it just is way more personal. You're going against a whole nother team. You know what I'm saying? It's a game and it's practice, so you're not going to get kicked out. And you got dudes on your teams that are real goons against other dudes that are like testing each other's manhood. So
Yeah.
What it is. So I'm not a real fan of joint practices.
Hey, that real goons thing, I think people forget that there are some actual goons in the NFL. There are guys, surprisingly enough, that make a living hitting people in the NFL. Like, I think that gets forgotten sometimes.
Yeah, there's dudes that on the team that will really they really look forward to it.
Hey, speaking of real goons, Boston Connor, you got a question?
Oh, yeah, thanks, AJ. I appreciate it. Yeah, Joe, not many guys can play at the level you had at corner for this long. You see the transition to safety a lot. Have you ever thought about doing that later on in your career? Or are you going to play corner till the wheels fall off?
I'm playing outside corner until the wheels fall off. I told my dudes, I've been fortunate enough, made a couple dollars. So until when the team tells me that I'm no longer going to be one of the two outside corners, nickel's not a thing I'm looking to do or safety.
What's up, Diggs? You got something?
Yeah, Joe. So you obviously were in Cleveland for a while. Not a lot of wins over there when you were there. Now we have a guy who's also making a similar transition from Cleveland to Jacksonville, now to the Steelers. Have you talked to Joe Schobert and told him, what it's like to go from not winning a lot of games to going to a team that hasn't had a losing season in 17 years?
I just kind of told him, because we actually crossed paths 1 year in Cleveland together. So I know Joe, and then when he came here, I just told him he's a smart football player. And the one thing about it is once you learn the scheme here, I've been in this game now for 5 years, so you're able to really just start wondering what the offense is doing. You're not worried about the plays that's called. Once the play's called, you're figuring out you're just so many steps ahead when you're not learning a new system, when you're not learning a new scheme. The terminology is the same. So I told Joe, listen, once you get this terminology down, it's not going nowhere. So you're going to be able to be a great player. You can play fast. So he's such a smart player. So I think he's going to be able to. He can tell already that it's a different vibe.
Hey, Joe, what about this new taunting rule and the point of emphasis? And we see it. It seems crazy if they're going to really enforce it like they are. How worried are you, and how much, I guess, has your team talked about it? Are they trying to address it in team meetings when the refs come in at practice? Are they really trying to drive it home that you can't do this?
Coach T, yeah, he does a good job, but he just says that he wants us to make sure that when we address, it's more towards your team. You know what I'm saying? Making sure that when you do show how hype you are, just do it with your team, celebrating with your team, trying to keep that emotion addressed towards your team. Because when you start putting it when you start looking down on the other team, that's when they're ready to start throwing the flags in. It is what it is. Coach T, that's why I love Coach T. He's trying to coach it. He's like this. I don't like it. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is. So you're not going to get us flagged.
Hey, Joe, don't you think with how long you've been in the NFL now, congrats, by the way, fucking impossible to have a great career as long as you have, let alone at corner and at the level you've played. And by the way, I hope you get the bag yet again. But isn't it fascinating that couldn't they have just told the coaches to tell the players this? Putting it in the refs' hands, I think, is just such a problem. Like the pass interference rule, which affects you a lot. Whenever we were able to review that for one season, even though they completely fucked it up, I think that is something that we should be trying to help these refs as opposed to put them in more situations to fuck over the game. I might be wrong there, but I think Coach Tomlin addressing it to the team is a lot better than the refs being allowed to kind of address it. Joe?
I feel you 1,000%. I think there's a lot of a gray area when you put it in the referee's hands. And then I think the coaches being able to address it to you, letting you know that in situations in practice, just being able to, coach it up in those situations. So I think that the refs having it in their hands is a little gray, but it is what it is. Let's just try to keep that energy with your team.
How do you not get a pass interference every play?
Bro, you can't. You literally, you got to make sure that you got to start reading routes. You got to start reading routes, playing off of them, mirroring their footsteps. You know what I'm saying? Because I used to tell them when I first came in the league, they were teaching us when the receivers lean on them, grab low. You get a low tug. You know what I'm saying? They don't call it a low tug. Now, if you would low tug, you're getting hit with so much laundry. So now I'm you just literally have to play footwork. And the coaches, they understand that's the lockdown corner where you could just jam them off the line, pressing them everywhere. I mean, that still exists. I respect Jalen, all the dudes, Jahair Alexander, the dudes that are following. That is still a real thing, but it's barely impossible now to be able to make sure nobody catches the ball for the whole game.
Now, you said you got to really study route combinations, and I'm sure you're studying splits and all these things are giving you an idea of what's to come. I guess if you how has that changed over your time in the league? When you came in the league, did you know that? Were you already aware of, hey, they got this formation, they only can run 2 or 3 routes, like they only have certain things, or is that something you've learned over your time?
Oh man, I learned that over my time. I was I was out there my rookie year. I was trying to study film. I didn't know really what I was watching. I was just watching a bunch of plays.
Yep.
Watching, okay, I'm watching tape, but I was working on my athletic ability. I was out there one-on-ones. I was figuring out what our defensive call was, had a million things going through my head, and then I was like, he's not going to catch the ball, you know what I'm saying, in man. So weren't worried about splits too much, but just playing off natural ability. Now it's moving so much slower, and the man coverages with splits and looking at what they're coming out in and just knowing the probabilities. It's completely different.
We were talking earlier about how, like even at punting position, me watching Adam Vinatieri practice with like some intentionality kind of changed the way that I wish I would have known how to practice earlier in my career in all my sports as opposed to just football. AJ talked about how in college Fickle helped him work on some things. How are you? Are you a practice every rep matters guy, or do you let's get this Sunday at this point in your career? How do you view your day to day, Joe?
I do a little bit of both. Coach does a good job with just the vet days. You know what I'm saying? When I'm out there, I'm out there. You know what I'm saying? But getting the day off here and there, you know what I'm saying, just to rest the body. But I'm really big in on, you know, like Coach said, I love to make practice perfect. I love to make sure all of the checks, I love to know my shit. I love to make sure people know around me that I know what's going on. So if you're in the game with me, I think one person like I like to shout out Minka Fitzpatrick. Hope he's going to get the bag next year, obviously. Baller. This dude, he reminds me of just the young me wanting to be the best he can be, doesn't really say too much of nothing, and just is football. You know what I'm saying? And just a baller. So seeing dudes like that, they keep me young. They keep me wanting to continue to do it the way I'm doing it. And I think that's why I'm able to play so long. You get the young dudes that come in, and you can't ever feel complacent. You can't ever get complacent. Somebody's coming in the next year to take my spot for way less money. You know what I'm saying? The Steelers, they're working a business. If I wasn't making plays, I wouldn't still be here.
Diggs, what do you got?
Hey, Joe, I need to know, how's Seven's arm looking?
Oh, it's looking sweet. It's looking sweet. I'm really happy for him, man. I mean, I think that he took a lot of rest. Like just with his recovery, he took a lot of throws during last offseason. And I think this offseason he took a lot of time off just to get rest on his arm, so his arm looks definitely fresh. I don't know how many more years going through forward, but right now, my man Ben looks good.
Hey, Ty Schmidt has something.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, AJ.
What's up, Ty? You got it.
Joe, we talked to a lot of guys last year about how different things were with the COVID year with no one being in the crowd. Like, was there anything you gained from that? Like, could you hear offenses a little bit easier? And, like, was it easier maybe than, like, a typical year in the league or not? And are you ready for the fans to be back?
I'm 1,000% ready for the fans to be back. I think the one thing it was a lot easier for defensive communication on away games. You know, on home games when our crowd would be going crazy, when the offense was out there, we couldn't really hear and make communications with defensive players. I think that was one of the only things. But I much rather the fans, the energy, the pre-warm-ups, just having the people out there. I mean, it's during the preseason. It's just it reminded me just having it during the Hall of Fame game, just being out there, that how much fans really bring to the game. You know, just having them out there, you feel like you're performing. Like, it is what it is. Like, you're obviously, when they weren't there, it's a business. You're going to make sure your tape matters. You're performing because this is what you do. It's your job. You're professional. But that extra that you get when everybody's out there, they're screaming, they're going crazy, and like that blood flow, I mean, you can't buy that.
I think the vets suffered more than the young guys, obviously, because when you're young, you still have that, youthful energy, like, oh, I'm in the NFL. The vets were like, all right, I'm about to run my face into a guy. I need a little bit of energy from the crowd. This would be nice. It's amazing you guys got through there. Is there any wide receivers that don't get talked about for being as good as they are? Obviously, there's the guys that we all talk about, but is there anybody that you've gone against? You're like, there's not a lot of conversation about dude, but dude is a absolute baller.
I say probably, I think Stephon Diggs probably gets his love. Keenan Allen, I think he needs to get more love as far as just up the top, one of the best receivers. Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen. Who else we got?
What makes a guy hard? Is it the routes? Is it the size, the speed? What is it?
It's a little bit of everything. It's everything. It's everything they can do. Because when I'm outside, so I'm covering those X's. And if they like Julio Jones has been one of the best for a long time. They are big, strong, fast, can run good routes, physical at the catch point. And when it sounds cliche, but they can really do all of that stuff.
I mean,
Hey, you're gonna get God out there sometime, huh?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking back like, where's Minka?
yeah. That's do you ever watch guys on TV when they're playing and you see them get beat deep and you watch them grab the old hammy and pull that old patented move like, oh man, here we go, it caught me, it grabbed on me again.
Yes. Oh no, that's for sure. I've seen it. I'm not pulling that because I already know I don't want anybody to ever say that about me. If I get beat, I get beat as a man.
I like it. Do you have a favorite interception out of all of them? Is there one that you really love?
Oh my gosh, I think my Tom Brady one that I had with the Steelers probably 2018. That was my favorite.
You get him to sign it?
No. Respect that man like that.
Hey, that's like I got a chance to watch Peyton operate for a couple years, and I watched somebody walk up to him with a football that they picked off from him in that game and asked him to sign it, and I was like, how is this gonna go? I like imagine if Peyton was like, hey, why don't you get the fuck out of my face?
What did he do?
I think he signed it. I think he was like very nice because it was one of those moments where it was like kind of awkward, like there's a camera, he's a bad guy if he doesn't, I think it was a full scene. It was a full scene out there.
Wow.
Hey, why are those quarterbacks better? Why are the greats great, like at quarterback position in your eyes? Like Ben obviously is going to be a Hall of Famer, but what separates like a quarterback that can really do it, you think, pre-snap, post-snap? And what the young quarterbacks, what's the graduation, you think, trait that they kind of get as they grow older?
I think the one thing is understanding defenses and definitely being able to throw people open. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the one part that all great quarterbacks do. It's a lot of good defenses. It's a lot of people that are playing in like tight windows, but the great ones, great passes are always going to be great coverage. So them being able to put balls and be able to have, the confidence in their receivers to be able, either he's going to catch this ball or it's going to be out of bounds, being able to take those chances, knowing matchups. Sometimes if you are looking out there in the game, I'm like, dude, Ben is the dude who's like, all right, he's on him. I'm going to go there. You know what I'm saying? There's certain situations that I'm just telling, sometimes it's that easy that just dudes are just thinking the game is so big and so much going on. The great ones are like this. All right, matchups, ball placement. I'm like, that is just, this just kind of seems simple, but when a quarterback has so much going through their head, they get to thinking about too much.
Hey, last thing here from me, but when you see these quarterbacks and they come in, and like Pat said, like you described well, like what the great ones do, can you see that early on from day one, or are there people that early on you're like, oh, this guy's trash, and then he becomes an all-pro and is a stud? Like, do you see big jumps, or can you usually tell right away?
Usually you could tell pretty quick. With the quarterback, I mean, you're not gonna. You've been playing this position your entire life. Once you get there, once you get to the league, I mean, it's kind of you got it or you don't.
Yeah, I guess it just.
Are you eyes on quarterback when you play?
What'd you say?
Are you eyes on quarterback, or is that just zone guys?
I mean, that's depending on the coverage. I'm mostly all the time. When I'm off, I always have eyes on the quarterback for the first three, even on man's read 3-step. For the first three, I'm always quarterback on man or zone.
Okay.
Hey, Joe, thank you for your time here, man. You've been awesome. Sorry about that, AJ. Go ahead.
Oh, you're good. Hey, Joe. So yeah, we're gonna let you roll here, but we definitely want to thank you guys. Thank you for your time, man. We appreciate it, and you're gonna have a great year. Hopefully, you get a big old deal, get some big time money here coming up shortly. Yeah, that's right, man. You're still doing it 12 years in. Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Haden.
Hey, he was
good.
awesome.
He's great, man. He's still I love that he said he's staying outside. I'm not leaving. Like I'm not going to slot. I'm not playing nickel in the corner. Like this is what I'm doing.
When that team tells me that I'm not one of the two best guys that can go outside, I'm done with it. Diggs, what's his contract situation? I don't ever want to pocket watch, but he's in the middle of one right now, right?
Yeah, so his contract is up this year. The thing is, like, they got to pay TJ and they got to pay Minka. He mentioned that. And then he's an older guy, so they're going to, I don't know, give him an extension, hopefully. But, like, I don't know if you guys remember, there was years where the Steelers defense wasn't the Steelers defense, and it was offense. It was AB, it was Lev Bell, it was all those guys. And then like as soon as he came in, they've been in the top 6 every single year since Hayden's come to the Steelers. Like he's been an awesome addition to the team.
I assume his agent knows that stat, not just Tone Diggs.
I would assume so too.